a matter of fact, Sal will be here in about 25 minutes. And, you know, and...
All right, well, if he's behind that door, just have him walk by and wave, and that's all we need, just a wave. I don't even know if he's here.
Speculation, and I think that wherever and whatever is going on with Artie Lange...
It's not just the voice.
It's not just the voice, it's the whole attitude, you know.
And that's if David Lee Roth, you know, wasn't Roth, I would think he would be Italian because he uses his hands a lot,
you know, and he's always doing this.
And that is Billy Mira right there, folks. David Lee Roth. I can't remember who else. Ozzy Osbourne. You do a bunch of great impressions, but of course...
There's a little Ozzy Osbourne for you. It's great, you know, brother, man. Have a good time talking to you, you know?
But, yeah, just tell us a little bit about just what you're doing. And you're working with some familiar faces, as we know from the Stern Show. But I watched a promo clip, and it does just look fun. It looks like you guys have a fucking blast.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. As a matter of fact, Sal will be here in about 25 minutes. And, you know, and Richard comes over. I have a full studio in the back. With a little sound stage and everything, and it's awesome. So what I did was we just basically, and we were doing this for about 4 years, experimenting with what I was doing with Billy Mira and the Hitmen, and creating a version of that with Sal and myself. And as it evolved, we did a couple of shows. You know, we would come up with a name, and it would be featuring Sal Governale and Billy Mira and whoever else was going to special guest with us. And then we did a couple of theater shows, and it was Billy Mira and the Hitmen featuring, you know, Sal Governale and Richard Christie. And we did a couple of things. So listen, we need to come up, because everybody loved it. And we said, let's do like a Dean and Jerry thing, you know, where we combine the show of what I'm doing. So we came up with a great title that really works for everything that encompasses the whole thing. It's called Hilarious Hitmen. So if you want to Google it, you can start Googling, because I think we have a website that's up now. And so we've filled every role, and it's great. Really, really excited.
So we've had the Rat Pack. We have the Whack Pack. Let me think here. Let me think. No, this is great, though. And like I said, I'll put the clip up where you can see what you guys are doing. It's so funny because, you know, Sal looks like he knows what he's doing up there. And, of course, Richard, we all know, you know, is an accomplished drummer. He should probably still be doing that and not doing whatever he's doing on the Stern Show. But how many dates? Yeah, tell me. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, he can always go back to that one day. And that's the whole point of this, is that, you know, this is something that we all have a history on the Stern Show, you know, which is the greatest thing. It's something that we take a lot of pride in. It's a big part of who we are, but it's something that we've created, you know, that's away from the show. And I think that's the one thing that people are pleasantly surprised to find out. I mean, a couple of references here and there. Sal and I in the show, we tell a story, which really is a 1 in a billion, and they can say a million. It's a 1 in a billion way that him and I originally started our relationship back in 2002, I think Sal and I met. Yeah, back in 2002. It's over 22 years ago. And that we met and started that relationship. And we tell a little story in the show based around some of the impressions. But it's our story, our journeys together, creating a show that's really separate from all of that, based off of our experiences. And yeah, so it's really special to all of us, to, you know, all three of us.
I don't want to give anything away, but I don't think Sal was working at the show at that point. Is there any small part of how you guys did meet? You don't have to give the whole thing away and don't need the show, but...
We do discuss it in the show, and it's okay. I mean, I'll talk about it because we do tell it in story and impressions and stuff. You know, it was a 1 in a billion thing. The first time I was ever actually on the Stern Show, not K-Rock, because I pranked Cabby, and I forgot who the other guy was. I used to be with him on the afternoons or evenings, and as Ozzy, and, you know, that's my first introduction to K-Rock. And then I had a thing with Cabby on air that we never lost over the years. But Sal and I was actually called in one day when Ozzy Osbourne, and I think Kelly was in the studio, and Howard, for whatever reason, hung up on me. And he was like, you know, I said, it's an imposter in the studio, you know. And Howard hung up on me, and Ozzy and Kelly, and they, you know, ridiculed me a bit. And I was depressed. I really was. I was like, I thought I did the greatest impression. And that night, I went out to a comedy club to do a set. And who do I run into but Sal's cousin, Tony Landolfi? And we started talking, and he goes, and the guy next to him turns around and he goes, "You're the guy who called in." Everybody wanted to know who the guy was and why Howard hung up on him. He goes, "If you're the guy, prove it to me right now." And he picked up the phone and he called Kamal from the Jerky Boys. He goes, "If you could convince him that you're Ozzy, I'll have you on the show within 7 days." And that's how it all started. And I called up Kamal and went back and forth with him, and I had him going. And as I've done to many people, since then, Carmine Appice, who he was very good friends with. But yeah, it was a big joke with us. And then I said something that really pissed him off, Kamal, that he knew it wasn't me. And that was it. And Sal was like, "That's it in 7 days." I thought Sal was joking. He was like, "I'm going to have you on the Stern Show in 7 days." And he says, "I'm an associate," because I didn't know. I kind of heard the name, but I didn't know his real name at that time, because like he said, he wasn't there full time. And he said, "My name is Sal Governale." And I said, "Oh, great to meet you." Otherwise known as Sal the Stockbroker, and then it hit. And in those days, that's what he was known as. And the rest is history. We created a call that was basically unheard of at the time. It was about 10 to 15 minutes long, and Howard played it 2 days in a row. And when I first heard it, when we first recorded it, you go through that process for the first time, you're like, "There's no way they're playing this. This is too long. It's funny as hell to me." And Howard, I'll never forget, I was sitting there, and once again, it was dead silence on the show for like a couple seconds, and you hear Howard go, "I have something that's funny." And David Tell was there being interviewed and all this. And I want to play it for you. There's an Ozzy impersonator, and we played a trick on High Pitch Eric. And I remember going, "That's not the phone call. I can't be the..." And they proceeded to play it for the next 15, 20 minutes and laughed and took calls, and he played it again the next day. And that was my introduction to the show. And I'm forever grateful, and it made our relationship, Sal and I, we became brothers at that point. And the rest is history, and created a lot of magic on the show together, which I'm, very proud of since then. So yeah, it was a moment in my life.
Yeah,
and his.
Yeah, of course. And you guys have been together, and you've been on the show many times. But you don't ever really see these guys from the side and being able to go out and do other things. Just tell me the fact that Sal and Richard can go out. I know they don't promote it on the show. I guess that's part of the big deal. Don't go and talk about this on the Stern Show. Although he doesn't really let anybody on anyway. But how did these guys sort of get the sort of blessing to kind of go out and do this stuff on their own?
Well, that is another part of it. We don't purposely associate it with the show, if you will, for that very reason. We don't want to put any pressure on the Stern Show or Howard for whatever reason. It's something that we do on our own volition, if you will. And the blessing is to do it. We do get approval for everything that we do, because we, like I said, known personalities, but it's in the way that they advertise it. And that is a testament to our own names at this point, because the shows do sell out. And that's another thing we're very proud of. And the thing I've been proud of, because I've built up a name away from the show, and now with Sal and Richard, it's really enriched. So people recognize the names. So we don't have to utilize that, even though, we're always welcome to Howard speaking about it if he wants to.
Are these guys setting up their end game out of the show? Is this their next path of?
We're doing it. Listen, even if Howard was on for the next 100 years, I'm sure Sal and Richard will be right there, and all of us will be, especially myself, whenever Howard calls upon me. Even since we spoke last time, I still have all the serious stuff, and I go on as characters every once in a while. It's always an honor to, even though things have developed and evolved over the years with Howard, and he's become a different personality, and working with him, and he is different now than it was years ago. We used to be very loose years ago, but like everything now is very methodical and much more planned and thought out, and that's great too. So whenever I'm called upon, so all of us will be there, always supporting that piece of it. But if it ended, we always have something to fall back on. And we, like I said, it's something we can do at the same time. We can walk, hopefully we can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. That's kind of what it is.
Hey, I'm the king of body languages. As you answered that question, you stopped and pointed. What's going on, Billy? Tell me what's going on.
You want to know about the bubble gum, or you want to know about the wagon?
That's fine.
Is these boots?
No, but what I was going to say is, like, if you listen to the show now, I miss you and sort of the Jim Florentines. They have people who do impressions, and it's just like, come on, I need Billy, I need David Lee Roth and the Ozzy, and I know Craig Gass has gone on and done more stuff of late, which is interesting that some of these guys that I thought were just no longer in the universe. And you too. I mean, I think you did some stuff with Tan Mom, right? So just it's kind of interesting when you guys.
Yeah, but that was a while ago. I mean, like I said, I worked with Craig on the show recently, where we were all pumped in live. So some of those voices that you are hearing are me sometimes, but they're different characters or. So we still go. Like I said, we still go on, but it's just different. It's just not because. And one of the main reasons is because we're not in studio with Howard anymore. So things have to be kind of planned prior so that we know which direction we're going. And as opposed to when we used to sit with Howard face to face, we used to be able to riff with him a lot easier. So that's about it. I mean, that's the only thing that's kind of changed. And I think Howard's agenda has changed over the years as well. So, things are just different now. But it doesn't better for us.
I have to ask, do you think he'll ever go back? I mean, I think that's the number one thing people say is like, if they were all in studio together, that'd be the first kind of sign that the show's kind of coming back to what it was. Any thoughts? I mean,
I would be back listen, if Howard ever asked me to walk in and sit in that chair for whatever, period of time again, I would love to. I would consider it an honor if he asked, if that was something that he wanted for the show. I noticed after, the whole situation with Artie, it's always been a vacant kind of if and when and selective situation, in that chair. But yeah, I mean, who wouldn't? Go and want to be and riff with the greatest of all time?
You mentioned Artie Lange. Now, I never really talk about him on this channel, but I will now. I'm kidding. Have you talked to Artie? Because I have some Artie questions for you. Do we know where he is?
I refrain from speaking about Artie because whatever is happening, like if Artie walked into the room right now, hey, what's going? So I have a speculation. And I think that wherever and whatever is going on with Artie Lange is hopefully good for Artie. And there is, to say, have any authority or any knowledge of what he's currently doing, I would be misleading. I don't know anything. But I do know that when I see him, there's a lot of love and a lot of rekindled emotions. So I just hope he's doing well, just like everybody else does.
Yeah, and I heard from someone that he is doing well, supposedly. So this was a couple months ago. Who knows?
I think it's the greatest thing, and I think if that's what he needs to do, and I think sometimes in this industry, we all need to take a break because, there are things that could affect certain people differently. And if that's what he needs, God bless him. That's what he should have.
Now, there was a point, as I researched, you had a sleep apnea business machine, and you worked with Artie with that? Is that not? No?
Me? Who, me? Yes. That was where did you see it?
Hey, listen, deep research here. I got a staff of thousands.
We had a great bit on the show. I do have a medical background, and Howard discovered it, and we spoke of it on the air once, and it turned into a real funny bit about Artie's talking about having a sleep study, and it just opened up Pandora's box, and it was such a great time.
Did you get him as a client? Did you get him as a client? Did you finally?
No, and but you would be shocked at who has reached out ever since then. It's a list long this way of people, and I always laugh, and they always laugh about it, and I go, "Could you believe it?" But yeah, I do have a background in that field, if you will.
Still doing that? I have problems sleeping. I could use a mask.
You have sleep apnea, my friend?
I don't even know what I have. I wake up with hypnic jerks. I wake up and I feel like I'm paralyzed, or my heart is going to burst out of my chest, or this is all stuff.
you should go for a sleep study immediately, my friend. All right. Yes, you could absolutely have that, and that's what happens when you have sleep apnea. You fall asleep and you stop breathing. Okay, and when you stop breathing, your heart will start pumping faster, and then your brain will give you a shot of adrenaline to wake up, and then that's why you have somebody who comes in and they suck in all that air. They take in all that air, and then this goes on over and over again, taking you out of REM, so you're never really getting any good quality sleep. So you're a great candidate for it.
I bet you didn't think you'd be talking about that today.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of impressions. It's sort of your kind of how we all heard of you. I think the David Lee Roth one is obviously great. I'd probably ask you to maybe drum up some, but how many do we do? Like, how many really good ones? If you go on stage and they're like, hey Billy, we need 10 minutes and give me your best impressions. Who are your 5, 10 that you're like?
Do me a favor, right? I'll do a lot of John Travolta. You could do, the young guy, all right?
And then you can do the older guy, which is kind of like this. And I do some Travolta. I'll do, my De Niro stuff, but I play with the audience, and I really don't say much because as De Niro. And I talk about how I do the impression. That's another thing that's in the show. And I talk about, how I come up with certain impressions, and that's part of the jokes, not to give some of it away. But I would say De Niro, Stallone, I've done on the show, John, like Italian guys. And, Joe Pesci. I mean, hey, you doing over here, huh, Brad? Hey, let's do me a favor, huh? Let's stop busting my balls, huh? Hey, do me a favor, Rob. If you're going to go out and hey, Bobby, look. If you're going to go out and you're going to talk to people on the street at this Trump thing, do me a favor. Don't associate it with me. They think you're gone batshit crazy. That type of stuff. So we talk back and forth as different characters and put them into the show in different spots.
It's so hard. I feel like I can do impressions for a second, but then I can't think of anything funny to say as the person.
Me neither. Now, it is that's the key of making an impression great. That's how you can even take a half kind of good impression and make it really great is what you say. That's what the people will remember. They remember. That's why Rich Little and some of those guys were so great, is what are you going to do? You do this whole, John Travolta thing, right? I'm not going to sit here and talk to you like that. But without making it funny, you're just hearing a guy talking like John Travolta. So we have things in the show, which I don't want to give away some of the lines, but, that I used to do in my stand-up act, and even with the Aussie stuff, I made it relevant to that time. So that's the whole thing, just coming up with content for that character. And then you have those characters talk to each other, which is kind of what I did in my first promo video. I had David Lee Roth, Elvis, I had, Billy Crystal, and all these characters talking to each other. And, at the end, promoting the show. And the camera angles really went back and forth, and people really loved it. And that was the whole start of the whole show.
Is Sal doing impressions? Is Richard, or are they just straight men? What's their...
So, for a little teaser, right here with you, Brad, he does do an impression in the show, but it's not what you think. Because I've been telling him for years he needs to have an impression, but you have to come see the show to see what he does and exactly what the impression is. So, yeah, we do. And we try to keep the show, as we know, we try to keep the show so it's an escape from reality for everybody. So we're not playing to a particular audience either, because it's such crazy times we're living in, right? So you have the left or the right, and I may joke around about Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro, and I may joke around about things, but at the end of the day, it's everybody coming together, leaving politics and all of that nonsense at the door. We're not making a political statement here. Even if personally we have strong feelings about things, it's not about that. And I don't believe in that. I think if an artist is asked a question, if Bono is asked who he's voting for, yeah, you can answer that question. But to sit and push an agenda on people, I've never believed in that, because I believe everybody has their own feelings, and you don't want to isolate those people, especially creatively, and exactly what you're conveying to them. We're here to have a loving experience together, not divide.
Does Richard eat poop or shave his balls or anything? Or is any of that going on?
He does drink, because the more you drink, the less we stink, my friend. Yeah, so that's little stuff we do in the show. Yeah, Rick, great. I mean, he's a phenomenal drummer. Every, he's a phenomenal drummer. But he's not only playing heavy metal, which he's really known for. He's playing this. We do a big mix of music. When I first started this, it was a lot of swing music. When I first did it, a lot of show, Brian Setzer orchestra, Michael Bublé arrangements, and so on and so forth. So we've taken songs. We do everything from, Stray Cats, Billy Idol, to Billy Joel, to Bruce Springsteen, to a lot of great surprises that are in the show. We really go on a musical journey, and it's only music that we relate to that means something to our story.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, like, if people didn't know who Sal and Richard are and they just want to have a nice night out, and then in the middle, Richard comes and shaves his ball, or they play Captain Teabag with each other. I'm just thinking, hey, what is this? What am I here for?
No, we do references. We do references like that. There are references to the show that for what they're known for and what we're known for. We do all those. So that is in the show, but it's not graphic. It's nothing that, nothing you would see, on TV.
What, and I talk about the rehearsals for doing this. I mean, it sounds like that are you rehearsing today? Like, how often do you guys have to get together to talk about?
So Sal and I are constantly punching up the script and constantly working on lines for the show. It's really as musical as it is. It's really, the show is carried by Sal and myself and Richard by what we do up front. So even if the band, God forbid, were to fall apart, we're able to take it. And Sal is extremely quick, off the top of his head with things, which is great. And it really plays into everything that we do. So yeah, we're always rehearsing at the line, so they're coming out of it's coming out like second nature, to us.
Yeah.
And we write and the greatest thing is, let's say we were to go to Missouri, right? We would research the area and we would create the show custom for that area. If we stayed in Vegas, we would create a show custom that would bring everything into that particular area. We have two shows here on Long Island, June 15th and July 27th at the Lakeside Theater in Eisenhower Park in Nassau County, which is a free show. There's going to be a lot of people there that night. About 10,000 will be there that night. And we've got a real, Long Island centric show that everybody's going to laugh to. It's a family show, so that's really important to us as well. It's not, something that, let me cover your eyes or anything. We want everybody to come to the show, unless it's in a nightclub. The Supper Club show is a little different. It'll be a little more risque, but not that major.
Yeah, no, I hope you do come to Missouri. I can't imagine how you would make it fun here because I love it here. I'm a self-hating St. Louis Missourian. And I was thinking about those guys that are working on this show. I don't want to ask a tough question for you to answer. Maybe you won't, but just how do those guys feel about working on the show these days? Because you don't really hear them. What is their take on just what's happening with the show? Because it is strange. You used to hear them all the time, and now it's kind of just bits and pieces. Like, how is it for those two to work on the show these days?
You mean Sal and Richard?
Yeah, for the Stern Show.
They love it. I mean, it's like I said, whatever that looks like on the show. If they didn't get any airtime, I guess that's what you're saying is like maybe some airtime. That's what I mean. Some things have changed because of the dynamic and the way the show is broadcast now. So things are going to change. But they're so used to it. It's just they're there contributing to make the show the best that it can be of what it is, the way that it's formatted now, depending on what it was years ago to now. So they still love working on the show and they understand what the show is all about. So yeah, there's no, and to further on that, you'd have to ask them.
Yeah. No, is Sal there? You said Sal's coming by. We have to have a walk on.
No, he can't.
Just pop in behind you. Doesn't have to say anything. Just have him grab a glass of tea. When was the last time you were on? Just how long ago has it been for you to be on the Stern Show?
Not too long ago. What's weird? So far, a couple different family members, as you remember, maybe since we spoke, my son played Little Howard back a while ago. I was on within the past year. I always do bits, behind the scene bits, and I go on live probably within the past year. Not, for me personally, I'm not on as much as I used to. I have all the serious stuff here if I'm called into action, but only when called on at this point for me. So yeah, probably the past year. But my son, the thing that's amazed me is that, and without going into who they were, I have had different family members that have made, certain key things on the show, which I'm really proud of. My son being one of them, playing Little Howard, even though he's a little older now. I don't know if you remember, Howard called himself on the phone that they created. He called himself on his birthday, and he called him as a little kid. The crazy thing is, they tried out all these kids to see who sounded like Howard when he was younger. I live not far from where he grew up. And not to give it away, I live in a town or two literally over. It's 2 towns over from Roosevelt. And my kid has the same accent as he did as a kid. So I recorded him, and he asked me for a recording of his voice. They gave it to Howard, and he was like, they loved it. It matched up almost perfectly with his voice, his natural child voice.
I'm trying to think of that when he was doing the what's the tape you always hear him. See, this is what happens. You say something, and I'm trying to think of it. Shut up, you moron. But what does he say during that when Ben is yelling? Anyway.
Sit down. Shut up, sit down. Shut up, you moron. And it's weird. I speak to my son the same way.
Yeah. But I remember Howard, you could hear Howard as a kid saying something, we don't want the jabs, something like that. I got it, finally. I got a little piece of it there. Before... Oh, go ahead.
No, that's my kid. That's him. That's it.
So I can't let you go. I know you have a show to do, and you're going to do probably some David Lee Roth, but I have to ask David if he's around. I know Eddie's no longer with us. But Wolfgang is still out there playing. Michael Anthony's around, and Alex. What's going on? Can we get you guys together for one last run?
One last run. Well, what would David Lee Roth say? I would say absolutely. Only if it's Van Halen featuring David Lee Roth, baby. Wow,
that's what he would say.
Him and Wolfie don't get along, right? From what I.
Oh, man, what are we going on, Dave? I don't know, Sammy. What is it that you want to do? I don't know. Let's go out on tour together. If we call it the David Lee Roth Experience, absolutely.
Wait a minute. I missed the Sammy. Can we do a little more Sammy? So Sammy's got some Cabo going. Give me a little. I didn't.
Sammy Hagar, man. What's going on, Dave? Hey, Dave. What's happening, Sammy? What do you know? You know what, Dave? I'll tell you one thing. I can sing your songs, but you can't sing mine. That's okay. That's all right. It's all going to go to who's going to warm up or warm down.
He said that on the Stern Show. It's my favorite line I've ever heard. David Lee Roth goes, yeah, Sammy's good at either warming up or cooling down.
Cooling down, yeah, something like that. Warming up. 2 big dogs, 1 dog bowl.
That's a great.
Billy, and I like when you do Dave and I love the thing about impressions. It's funny too because you've talked about it, but the hand gestures and just all the big and the wow with the De Niro, it's just the face turning into the face. But the David, it's funny. I forgot that there's a lot of hand movements and it's not just the voice.
It's not just the voice; it's the whole attitude, And
if David Lee Roth, wasn't Roth, I would think he would be Italian because he uses his hands a lot,
and he's always doing this, and
he's a very expressive, very intelligent. I've always said this in interviews, very intelligent guy, and it's probably one of the reasons why maybe he doesn't hate me so much.
I was just say, have you met him? You had to have met him or talked to him, right?
We've talked. He's brought me up on the Stern Show. He brought me up on his own show, and I probably would have worked with him had they lasted long enough at K-Rock. But it didn't happen. I was fired.
He's out saving.
I still got $8 million, baby. Wow.
So I feel like I'm watching the Just a Gigolo video right now where he's doing the Dave TV.
Gigolo and everywhere I go.
We do that in the show too. We also have a few surprises. Because of how we have the band, we do a few surprises in this show, which is a great point that you just brought up. We have a Van Halen surprise that I think if everybody comes, and Brad, if you're ever in the area, if we're ever in the area, you're more than welcome to come as our guest and hang out and watch the show and spend some time together.
I would like to see that. So lastly, what are you and Sal going to be working on, if you can talk about it? What are we doing today?
I do have another project that is in the works that I'm really excited about. It's a confidential project. It's a TV project. And I am playing the leads. It's a huge for me. And I'm very, very excited about it. And we're now casting is also happening for the rest of the crew. The rest of the cast will be done in probably June, July. And it's slated to film in August, but I think it may get pushed back. Not because of any other reasons, just from logistical stuff for locations it may get, but it's something I'm really excited about, and I was born to play this role. And that's something we should reconnect sometime in the future to talk about when I can.
Perfect. I would love to see that. We'll keep in touch. And what are you and Sal going to work on today? Can you talk about that?
We're going to do the Hilarious Hitmen. And we're going to make it the greatest show on earth, baby. The greatest thing since Ringling Brothers, except it's Governale and Mira and Christie. Whatever. I'm going to leave that up to you, Brad, to come up with a name, and maybe some of the listeners that come up with a name that we, something that we can nickname, the Rat Pack and the Whack Pack. And I don't know if we would be called the Whack Pack, though, but it'd be something different, something in that spot.
GMC. Governale, Mira, Christie. GMC. Not your regular auto machine. I don't know. I'm just coming up. All right, well, if he's behind that door, just have him walk by and wave, and that's all we need, just a wave. I don't even know if he's here.
Actually, he would be coming through that door. If I turned it around, you'd see there's two in this environment here. There's two different entrances, two double doors, and this is where all the magic happens.
Well, this is great, Billy. I really appreciate it. I hope everybody goes out and see. It sounds like you're sold out for the first one. We'll keep an eye on all the other stuff happening. And
yes. If we're in Connecticut, we're not in St. Louis by you just yet, but we are in Connecticut in November. And we're booking a bunch of other shows, and we're going to be in Vegas, Los Angeles. We'll probably be in Florida, and we're going to be all over the place.
Well, I do Florida. in the winter, so maybe we can catch up down there. I love getting out of here.
You go down there?
Well, I mean, Florida's pretty big, so we're at the kind of that panhandle. But sometimes I like to go down to that West Palm area, Jupiter, where the Cardinals train. So.
I love it all, man. I love going down there. Delray's my spot.
Yes.
Yeah, Coral Springs. I stay in Coral Springs a lot too, so I'm always back and forth, and then I go back and forth to Miami.
What do we have? Benedetta's? What was the name of that Italian place we had in Delray?
Well, there's a place in Matarana's, which is in Fort Lauderdale.
I'm looking it up. I'm looking it up. Hold on. No, it wasn't called that. All right. Well, I'll have to look it up. But it was delicious. Delray is a wonderful place. We could talk travels all the time.
Yes, we could talk cuisine all day.
All right. Billy, always a pleasure. We'll do this. It's been too long since we've done this. This is my fault. I haven't asked you. You were kind enough to say thank you to come back on, and we'll do this again soon and see how things are going. And maybe one day we'll get the three of you on together, and we'll have a good time. We'll have...
Yes, that would be great. I would love it.
Hey, I can sing. Maybe you need a fourth. Maybe now you got your Rat Pack. I can get up there and croon some shit.
Can you sing?
We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind. Because your friends don't dance. And if they don't dance, well, they're no fucking friends of mine. Gotta have the fucking...
I mean, can you do like a Norm Macdonald impression?
Today, at the top of the charts is Better Than Ezra. At number 2, Ezra. It's my favorite Norm joke. It's the only one. But yeah, I love Norm. And I love that people think I look like him. As I get older and I look at him as younger, he was a handsome fella. So, although he's dead now, so hopefully I can make it past 60.
There we go. See? Yeah.
I miss him. All right, Billy, thank you so much. We thank everybody for coming here and watching. Make sure you check out Billy Hitmen, Billy Mira, and you tell me. Now I'm screwed.
HilariousHitmen.com. TheHilariousHitmen.com. And also, you can always find me. I actually got rid of my personal pages for now, but it's because I'm really focused on this and something else I'm doing. So, thehilariousHitmen.com. Go there. You can find dates. And if they're not listed, because, you know, we're very lax, it's, you know, babe. So you can just basically get us on Facebook, and we'll always answer. I always speak to people on Facebook. I love these shows.
That was a little Sammy right there. That was pretty good, right? That was a Sammy.
Oh, you're talking about, you know, Sammy Davis, babe. Hold on, my eyeball. Oh, wait, hold on.
All right. Well, I could do this all. I could listen to you do impressions all day. But thank you very much, Billy. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.